So another year has come and gone, and that means for better or worse, we have to discuss the 10 worst films I had the displeasure of watching this year. Not only did these movies suck, but they also cost my time and money. So if you find me on OnlyFans later this month, you know why. As always, a full disclaimer, I'm a one-man band. I do these reviews myself. I edit them myself. I go and pay and see these films, so I don't have the time nor money to see every single movie. So there will be some movies I forgot or are not on my list. Let me know in the comments section down below what your worst movies are. Like, comment, subscribe, hype the channel. Doing horror movies ranked, all my movies ranked, best of lists. I have a bunch of different videos coming, so be sure you're at the channel so you can see those videos as they release. Other than that, let's get into it. Let's be miserable together. So I thought a long time about whether or not this movie was going to make the number 10. And I thought about what movies are more culturally relevant. What movies did we have higher expectations for? What movies had bigger budgets? What movies had more established franchises? What movies looked better? What movies pissed me off this bad? And when I asked that question, it had to be answered 28 years later. For the life of me, I have no idea what this movie was thinking. It's like they took everything that worked in the previous movies and said, yeah, fuck that. We're not doing that anymore. No rage virus, no zombies. Let's explore metaphorical grief and trauma. That's not stereotypical at all nowadays. It's like a bunch of monkeys threw darts at a dartboard to decide how this movie worked. None of the character choices made any sense whatsoever. It felt like the directors were giving a giant fuck you to the audience saying, this is the movie we really want to make. We don't care about your schlocky zombie films. I have a saying on this channel that sometimes a movie is so up its own ass it can't see the light of day. That's what this movie felt like to watch. The opening of this, easily the worst in the 28 franchise. I felt nothing. Days has a cool opening with the score. Weeks has the best opening. I think we all agree on that. This one felt like a parody. Didn't feel anything. I wasn't scared. I didn't think it was funny. First 10 minutes, I was instantly like, okay, this is kind of scary if this is going to be this bad. Then the movie goes along. You're following Spike and his dad in the mainland. It's okay. It's a passable film. Get to see some alphas rip some spines out. Direct ripoff of The Forest, by the way, but I digress. It looks kind of cool at points. You have that land bridge scene. It's okay. It sets up expectation that in the second half, this movie could actually be kind of cool. But even going back to the first half, there's some very bizarre choices in this movie. This weird medieval footage spliced over the whole movie. You have weird bullet time slow-mo effects with the arrows. That was another red flag when I saw it. I was like, are we going to do this the whole movie? But again, I was on board. It was okay. It was not the best or the worst. It was just kind of a meh movie up until the second half where it follows Spike and his dying mom, becomes a dollar store version of The Last of Us, frolicking through the meadow looking for a cure, exploring our grief and trauma and sharing our feelings. I didn't give a fuck about any of that. I thought this was like the most emotionally dry movie ever. I could have watched this movie in a funeral home and not even shed anything. Because I kept on reading and hearing that this was such an emotionally potent movie. I thought this was so poorly acted. It felt like nothing in this movie was earned. It's like this movie moved at a light speed pace and I was supposed to care about any of these characters. The mother dies within 5 minutes. Spike's carrying her washed skull because of this weird maniac covered in iodine. And nobody's supposed to question this guy might just be a psychopath. We just accept this guy to be the emotionally resonant doctor. I don't get any of that. Like the leaps this movie requires to the audience. It's like, how much rope will the viewers give us to just do whatever the hell we want? Even if you can somehow make it to the end of this movie, which I think is very hard to do. Because the second half is absolutely horrible. I mean, I read thousands of comments of people who turned this film off. But even if you can make it to the end of this film and you can get over the awful pacing and the change up 180 at the halfway point and the terrible accent and this weird guy collecting memento moris and the giant alpha dong in your face for half the movie, then you get to the end of this film with the funniest ending of a movie I have possibly ever seen in a movie theater, with the Jimmy gang dressed like Power Rangers, flying kicks and nunchucks and samurai swords. I get it. I mean, it was explained in the comment section. Doesn't make it any better. I mean, what a tonally whack job choice for a film. So this movie was a catastrophe to me. I think this movie just ruins the legacy of this franchise. Bone Temple's trailer looks even worse, if that's possible. But yeah, and I heard that movie's even more divisive. So I don't know where we're going from here, but this movie single-handedly killed any interest I have in this franchise. I'll probably watch the new one and review it because the video did well and, just because I like talking film. But as for like my experience with this movie, it was inconceivable that this movie, with the way it was hyped up and the way it was looked and the people they teased coming back, it could be this bad. But here we are, bottom 10. Coming in at number 9 is Hell of a Summer, a movie I'm not even sure that many people saw, but if you're unfamiliar, it's basically a horror comedy play on Friday the 13th. Not a whole lot going on here. You have a bunch of camp counselors. They return to summer camp. You have this one really dorky guy we follow as our main. Everybody's teasing him because he's a little bit too old to be a camp counselor. He needs to grow up, you know. Well, somebody starts killing off all of the camp counselors, which, if you know my taste as a horror movie fan, should be a layup. I mean, horror comedy slasher, camp counselors, it's perfect. But there are massive problems with this film. First thing being, it's a horror comedy, one of the least funny movies I've ever seen. I did not even smirk during this film. Imagine a comedy or a stand-up set by the least funny person you have ever met. Third person embarrassment watching this film. Like, I was turning red in my seat watching this. The jokes, rapid fire paced, hour-and-a-half long movie, never hit. I was like, ugh, it's so bad. Then you have the killer reveal of this movie, what the killer's incentives are, who it is. It's very predictable for one, but their motivations, it's hard to even describe. It's like the worst, laziest description ever. So the kills are not on screen. They're all off camera. So it's like a PG-13 slasher. Jokes are not funny. The killer's predictable. His motivations are awful. When you add it all together, it's just a super miserable experience. I would not recommend to anybody unless you're sitting in the chairs like a Clockwork Orange and they're forcing you to watch it. Coming in at number 8 is another movie I had to rant about because I didn't even know how to review it. I thought it was so stupid. That is The Woman in the Yard. How do I describe this one? Let's just describe it by the title. So you have this woman sitting in like a funeral attire on the front yard of this very depressing and miserable family to sit with. As the movie progresses, nothing's really going on, but the chair she's sitting in keeps getting closer and closer to the house, like impending doom for this family. It's a Blumhouse movie, so you kind of know what you get going into it, PG-13, but it's another visual representation of metaphorical grief and trauma and family relations and just stuff that is so played out by now. This movie was so boring. This was one of the movies I highly contemplated walking out, and I kind of wish I did because the ending of this film is so bad, it almost makes the first half of the film seem good, if that's possible. The mother in this family, I found her to be the most irredeemable character ever. The way she talks to her children and treats them, and you're just watching them just have everyday interactions and talk about how sad they are and how they have no money. As this chair in the front yard just gets closer and closer, and this lady just keeps sitting there and looking at them. Doesn't really interact or anything, just kind of sits there. And that's the whole movie. For an hour and a half, feels like 3.5. A couple of very bonkers choices in this movie as well. Minor spoilers here. Scroll ahead a minute, you don't want to hear them. When they unveil the girl in the dress, she's not like this demonic entity or anything. She just looks like an everyday woman. I thought this was a crazy creative choice for a horror film. You know, they tease the big bad villain or the big entity, demonic, whatever it is. Oh my God, what is the impending doom? Then you get to see it and you're like, okay, that ain't shit. Like, I see 20 people who look like that at Walmart every day. As boring and depressing as this movie is, clearly it's talking about metaphorical grief and trauma. Then you get to the end of this movie and this like entity that's been sitting in the yard gives the mom a chance when she arrives at the house to basically decide, is she going to unalive herself or is she going to stay with her kids and live with the depression of losing her husband, all of that? And the movie has her choose to end it. And I was like, so what is the point of this movie? Like, what is the message we're sending here? Why would you have that depicted in a movie? Why would that be like the takeaway message? Like, sometimes shit just sucks, just go along with it. I didn't understand any of the choices this movie made. So it's a brutal watch. It's slow. It's boring. The payoff is one of the most bleakly depressing and like pointless endings ever. It can only live to annoy you. I don't know. Yeah, absolutely terrible watch. You know, there was like 20 people in the theater when I saw this, half left by the end of it. Couldn't have a bottom 10 list every year without number 7 being The Strangers Chapter 2. I'm so happy Chapter 3 comes out next year, so I guarantee I have another entry into my bottom 10 next year because this trilogy is easily shaping up to be the worst trilogy of all time. In The Strangers Chapter 2, we follow off at the end of Chapter 1 when you have the main character played by, I don't even remember her name, Madeline Pesh or something. She wakes up in a hospital, clear ripoff of Halloween 2, and you have this scene where the strangers are all trying to attack her in the hospital. She's kind of like Metal Gear Soliding her way out of the hospital. That scene's actually kind of cool. Goes on for about 15, 20 minutes, whatever. And this is the most action-packed nothing burger of a film ever. I don't think the actual plot, if this was a book, progresses more than 5 pages across 2 hours. It's just the main character running away over and over again as the strangers chase her, and it gets nowhere. It completely undermines the point of this trilogy. First off, I don't know who asked for this trilogy. They're called The Strangers. Let's use some context clues there. The Strangers, which means we don't know them, which means to explore who they are, undermines the entire point of the word, the strangers. We don't care who the strangers are. But assuming you do care and you want to hear any of their backstory, we have explored none of that now through 2 movies. The first movie was just a retread of the original Strangers. It's worse in every way. Second movie is just the longest action scene or horror movie with nothing happening ever. It's like an hour-and-a-half chase scene that has no suspense, no scare, anything. We learned nothing about these guys, and we're now 3 hours in. This movie also has one of the most out-of-place scenes of the year. There's like a 20-minute boar attack. Yes, a boar, like a CGI Disney boar from John Carter, out of the blue, just attacking her in the wilderness. And I said in my review for this movie as well, any movie that shows you concrete like evidence and scenery of somebody stitching a wound in detail sucks immediately. That's the litmus test. This movie loves doing it. 3 different scenes in this. She's tending to a wound in graphic detail because there's nothing to fill the runtime in this film. So hour-and-a-half film. It's a giant chase scene, but somehow manages to feel nothing. It's not suspenseful. It's not scary. Everything they do in this is like cartoony. All of the people they tease to be the strangers, you don't care. The people acting like red herrings. It's awful. So if you've managed to avoid these films, do not watch them. Please do not support these films. I am somebody who's pretty adamant. Support everything. Don't support these movies. Do not support this lame, generic clone ripoff. Watch the original Strangers. Pray at Night's pretty badass as well. These movies suck. Coming in at number 6, another terrible sequel. That would be Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Had the displeasure of watching this at an opening screening, and as I said in the review of that, the person to the right of me fell asleep. The person to the left of me was telling me jokes the whole movie about how slow it was, how the kids couldn't act. This was terrible. Apparently there's an online culture war going on right now between the Five Nights at Freddy's fanboys and us, the people who have no ties to these games. They don't know the lore or anything. Because the movies up until this point have been pretty bad. The first movie was okay. It was kind of forgettable. Second movie is just the most generically pointless sequel ever. It does nothing with the lore. It makes no sense. It feels like there's like an hour-and-a-half of the movie cut out, but yet the movie feels like it takes 5 hours to go through 90 minutes to begin with. This movie has some of the worst acting of the year. I don't like to harp on kid actors, but the main girl in this, man, cardboard cutout. She is terrible. She is one of the worst of the year. Feels like just about everybody on this movie was collecting a paycheck. The main guy, Josh Hutcherson, he's barely even in the film. The other girl who plays the cop, she can't act. You have, as I called it the geriatric scream cast, where you have Matthew Lillard and Skeet Ulrich in here for about 30 seconds collectively. They're not really putting in a lot of time or effort into what they're saying. I didn't even understand what the point of this movie was all the way up until the end. It just kind of bounced around. There's like 15 different subplots. Our main character's trying to date the cop. The cop is trying to get over her trauma. Then you have the young girl who's in this science fair, and then the young girl's also trying to become friends with the animatronics. Just a bunch of made-up reasons with terrible acting and pacing to find yourself back at Freddy Fazbear's. And there is one scene related to something called the marionette I thought was pretty cool. The movie is kind of paced fast, in which a lot of stuff is happening, but none of it makes any sense. Like, you don't understand why it's going from the playground to the place, and then it's going to the school, and then it's going to his job, and then it's everywhere. There's no continuity to anything this movie is doing. And for being only a 90-minute movie, another thing like The Strangers, it has added nothing to this franchise. I couldn't tell you anything about this movie, any of the lore, why characters are doing what they're doing, how these animatronics work. It feels like, the video games based off of just security CCTV footage, their jump scare simulator, should have stayed where they are, because trying to flesh out 90-minute movies about that, I mean, I'm trying to think in my head of what I would do. I have no idea. I could maybe make a short out of that. We're now 3 hours into these movies and we've learned nothing. These movies feel selectively made for like fanboys and fan fiction fans of the Five Nights at Freddy world. Everybody else, like me, completely out of the loop. They are not for me and they will not work. So yeah, pretty terrible. Coming in at number 5, one of the biggest disappointments of the year, Mickey 17. I couldn't really tell you a whole lot about this movie. It kind of went in one ear and out the other. I forgot most of it, but I do remember the chunks of what pissed me off the most. Robert Pattinson, he's playing this cloned version of himself. I thought the voice he was doing in that movie was, I don't know why he was doing it. It was just annoying. But Mark Ruffalo takes the cake for why this movie was terrible, because he's doing like the worst over-the-top Trump impression ever. And a guy so like easy to impersonate and to kind of poke fun at. Normally Bong Joon-ho's movies are very clever and like quippy and on the nose. This movie just felt kind of over the top in parody land, where it wasn't engaging. It wasn't funny. It felt like a low-hanging fruit, like parody version of his movies. Like somebody was plagiarizing his style and didn't know how to do it, but it's oddly by him himself. And as somebody who loved Parasite, it just annoyed me. This movie to just deliver nothing I wanted. It wasn't funny. It wasn't engaging. The plot is kind of half-cooked across the board. It's one of the biggest disappointments of the year and by far one of the most forgettable. I don't know anybody who liked this movie. Maybe I'm in a weird echo chamber or something. Coming in at number 4, the most boring exorcism you have ever watched is The Ritual with Dan Stevens and Al Pacino. Yes, Dan Stevens and Al Pacino made an exorcism movie. Except the catch to this one, it's actually a play on the exorcism case that the exorcism movie was about. Which sounds interesting, right? We get to see the backstory of what's going on here, and it's going to take place over the course of an exorcism. Except this movie, I guess, is like hyper realistic in the way they depict this exorcism. You have these two priests giving this exorcism of this young lady, and it's going over like parts. So it's like day 1, day 2, and it goes through like day 6 or something. And nothing happens because, like, you know, the movement, the power of Christ compels you. That's the big, like, compelling moment of an exorcism in these films. And I don't even find that part that engaging. Like, imagine somebody who was trying to coach you how to do an exorcism for an hour and a half with Dan Stevens and Al Pacino. There's no bravado to any of the lines. It just feels like Al Pacino's reciting prayers like he's trying to get in a good deed with the man above. Dan Stevens feels like he's cashing a check here. The worst part about this film is it's just gray. It's dark. It's slow. Sounds terrible. Shaky cam. It's like Michael J. Fox was holding the camera at all points. Like, they refuse to hold a tripod, like it makes it more immersive in found footage to hold it. So the way the movie plays out, you're just watching people very zoomed in. They love zooming like to the pimple of your nose, just staring with a prolonged shot, but it just shakes. Like the guy can't hold the camera. So you're watching super generic dialogue about an exorcism case that's not that interesting, as I said, because nothing really happens to the final 10 minutes. And it just makes you nauseous because the guy can't hold the camera. So it was just a brutal watch. It has like a 4% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's about 3% too many. At number 3, the only movie on this list I did not see in movie theaters is Project MKHEXE. Now, the reason I know how to say that so well is there's a character in this movie that says the words Project MKHEXE 500 times in a 90-minute movie. This is like some weird time-traveling science fiction found footage movie where the main character is narrating because his brother went missing, looking for Project MKHEXE. Apparently there was like some government conspiracy where this strange project was like taking over people's brains or time traveling them, making people act weird, and they're exploring this conspiracy almost as if you were in like Area 51 unveiling notes. But the way the movie plays out, you just have this main character narrating 45 minutes straight, him just reading records about scientific studies and documentation and interviews with so-called experts. And that's like all the movie is. And you don't give a shit about this experiment. You're sick of hearing him say, Project MKHEXE. Like whoever wrote the title of this film is fixated, thinks it's the coolest name ever. So they said, say it so many times. But at a certain point, I was just like, fuck, man, stop saying it, man. Like, what is the point of this film? I watched this on Tubi, or it was on VOD or something. I don't remember what it was, but it was getting a bunch of hype on Twitter and by Shudder. So I was like, oh, cool. I'll check out Project MKHEXE. And yeah, don't do that. Possibly the biggest surprise with this list. At number 2, I thought this was a lock to be the worst. A lock. Minus 10,000. I would have said in June that this was the worst. Presence, the found footage horror film. If you're unfamiliar with what this movie is, it's a found footage horror movie from the perspective of the ghost. Let me just break it down for you. Remember that movie A Ghost Story with Casey Affleck where he wears the bed sheet over his head and he just lingers in the background? This movie is exploring a haunted house perspective of the ghost. So imagine you're just a voyeur, a fly on the wall to the most unlikably lame family ever. Poorly acted. You're just sitting there like watching a family eat dinner and talk about loss and talk about bills. The whole thing is shaky cam, so you get vertigo and nauseous. I was like seasick watching this 15 minutes in. And it's a movie that has no central narrative to it. It's just following a compilation of scenes, then it fades to black, then it picks up some other day. And you don't really know why that's happening until the end. When you get that payoff, again, another movie, maybe this is a trend with my bottom 10. A lot of people were talking about was so profound and it was so emotional. I laughed. I thought it was beyond stupid and it did nothing for me. So I sat through a miserable hour and a half watch of found footage where I felt like a voyeur in the cuck chair in the hotel watching this boring family. When you get to the end of it, it's supposed to have something that wraps this whole narrative up. And it's just a compilation of scenes that really have nothing to do with one another. You watch people hang out. I don't know. I mean, another movie, like 10 people in my movie theater. I think 7 left, something like that. It was bad. But coming in at number 1, a deadlock, stone cold century lock of the week, of the year, of the month, the worst movie I saw, House on Eden. Thankfully, not a lot of people saw this film, but it did come to theaters, limited release. I went and saw it. Found footage, not having a good year, guys. Another found footage film made by TikTok influencers or YouTubers or something. Call me Chris. People were defending her. I don't know. I have no idea who any of these people are. Thankfully, my brain cells are intact. But it's basically their take on Blair Witch. You have these two girls and this guy who's the cameraman. They go to this house on Eden. They're trying to explore paranormal occurrences. First 5 minutes of the movie, like 3 minutes of them, is people debating if they want to take a shit. So that basically set the precedent for what I was getting into. This was awful, like awful. 70 minutes, man. Like, how do you not fill 70 minutes? I think there's like 8 minutes of real movie in this movie of 70 minutes. The other like 60 minutes is people debating whether or not they like want to eat and if they're tired, and scenes of the main girl's ass. I'm not joking. They like zoom in on it, like 15 minutes of film time. If you're a creep. Somebody in my comment section said they made this movie for like $10,000. Doesn't surprise me at all. It's one of those rare times. I truly think anybody with filming technique who is given a camera and like $1,500 can make a movie this good or better. Editing terrible as well. Sound terrible as well. Shaky cam. It's not well made. All of the things I said related to the movie, unrelated. It's like you just gave a camera to your drunk friend and you said, let's make a movie. And you just made a movie over the weekend. Like, that's what this was. Like, you made it in 2 days. You didn't edit it. And I have no idea how this came to movie theaters. I guess these are influencers or whatever you want to call it. Scares me to say I could fall under that umbrella one day. Almost makes me want to quit doing this. Yeah, this is by far the worst film of the year. As much as I hated all of the other movies below it, this movie is undeniably the worst movie I have seen this year. There you have it, guys. That's my list for the 10 worst movies I had to sit through this year. Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on mine. Comment your own list down below. What were the 10 most miserable movie watches you had this year? Like, comment, subscribe, hype the video. I got more lists coming, as I said. Best of list, horror list, all my movies ranked. So be sure to follow the channel so you can see those videos. I will see you in them. Peace.